Alrighty then, girl on a budget making meal stretch is fixing to get jiggy with it tonight, because tonight is Beef Stroganoff night. Huge, epic day for us. My husband will find meats on sale, and in this case, I went into the freezer and I've got 3/4 of a pound and 1/2 pound of beef tenderloin that's been frozen since December 26, 2013. I'm going to use cooking sherry, my own beef broth, onion. I'm out of my own canned tomato soup, so Campbell's broke me off some, and my dehydrated mushrooms. So this recipe is delicious, and of course just going to serve it on some egg noodles. No yolks happened to be on sale when I got that. So it's a delicious recipe. It's also very easy, and of course I got to have what's this here sauce in it, and of course 8 ounces of carton of sour cream. But I'm going to get it on, and I'm going to get to sauteing my onions in a whole stick of butter. I'm not using a cast iron pot because I'm putting a tomato product in there. I'm going to use my regular heavy bottom skillet. And get to getting. I'm going to saute my onions, and I'll be slicing this beef, of course, across the grain so that it's as tender as it can be. So anyway, beef stroganoff night for the broke girl. Getting with it. I have my meat sliced into thin strips, and like I said, I cut them across the grain. I'll lightly salt and pepper this because it is tenderloin. It has a tremendous flavor alone. I have a little pile of my cut-offs that I'll put in my freezer for when I'm canning beef stock. And I have got my onions sauteed over here, so I will salt and pepper the beef, or the tenderloin, run it through flour, and then I will put it in here hot with this onion mixture and brown it. So I have my beef floured, and I'm going to drop it in. I also have my mushrooms in a bowl of water. I just prefer to rehydrate them as opposed to putting them in something with liquid. I don't know why, but it's how I roll. And a lot of people get PMs going, I don't cook my onions enough. Taste them. Taste it with a spoon if you can't tell what the translucent is, and you'll be able to tell when they're tender, and you're not going to have a crunch to them. So we're going to get this in here. Do not use self-rising flour, or you end up with all kind of little puffiness. We're trying to make a pastry. We're trying to make beef stroganoff up in here. Just try and shake off your excess. You get down to a little bit, you end up with a little more. Just laugh. Oh gosh, this smells really good. You'll seldom have to add more butter, but if you do, add more butter. Don't use margarine, that stuff will kill you. And if you're going to step out there, and me, who will pinch a quarter till it bleeds, when I'm stepping out there to make something like this, I'm going all the way. I'm not going to cut the corner on using margarine when I have butter, I buy butter on sale, and then I freeze it, you know, when it's like 2 for $4, and then I might have a coupon for Food Lion, or something like that. So just going to brown this. I'm not cooking this meat completely, and you can see how the flour has picked up all the butter. So work it around. I am on my super burner, but I'm on low. So if you feel like I have a little more meat than normal, because my husband done worked the sales for the past year, I'm going to drop probably 1/4 of a stick more of butter. I think butter's kind of like cheese. Can you really have too much? I don't think so. Well, I'll do a 1/2 stick because that's what I got left in my butter holder. So we are lightly browned. You can still see there's pink to the meat. We've got all our good stuff on the bottom that is not sticking. We're not burning nothing. Because remember, I'm a broke girl, right? I ain't blowing this. This is my mama's recipe from back in the day. So the first thing I'm going to put in here is my beef broth. when you're using your own, if I were buying or using a can of Campbell's beef stock, which is like salted water, turned brown, or colored brown, I would not be using any salt when I salt and peppered this meat. But because it's mine and it's not full of salt, I'm good. So I'm going to stir this around, make sure I've got nothing. I want to make sure anything on the bottom, I have some on the side here, that I'm getting all those bits up because they're very much full of flavor. So the next thing I'll do is I will put in my tomato soup. It ain't mine, but Campbell's broke me off the can. We used to use half a can. I like a full can. Because I use pint. When I do this, I use a pint of my own tomato soup. But my Roma tomatoes in my garden here, they're all popping up now, thankfully, and they're green. But they are taking forever. Much different gardening here at the coast than it was the upstate of South Carolina in some raised beds. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so slow. We have a lot of wind. Of course, I'm in a salty environment right on the water. But that's where food lives, in the water. So I wanted to get living at the water, not have to sneak out. If things ever go bad, I can just fish in my backyard. Keep me a little sniper up on my deck and work it out. So let's get our what's this here sauce in here. And I'm going to put 2 tablespoons. And I got mad respect for people who do not measure. I'm a measurer because when I get a recipe right, I want to be able to duplicate it. So let's say I ever change something in this. I used to use 1 tablespoon of what's this here sauce. The first time I did 2, I actually wrote it in pencil on the recipe card. Because if I liked it, it was going to become in pen on there and be a part of how I permanently did it. So anytime my husband just cooks, throws things around. Now, he's a very good cook, but it don't always taste the same because brother might forget what he did last time that we liked a lot. So anyway, I actually have the recipe card written in my mama's handwriting. How sweet is that? She's been gone a long time because I'm an old broad. But just if you make a change, and at the end of the meal you go, oh, I love that. What did I do different? First time I put 2 tablespoons of what's this here sauce instead of my mama's recipe of 1. I changed it on there. So once I liked it, I kept it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my little simmer burner. And I'm going to cover it because I need that meat to cook. And I need this meat to get tender. So I'm going to put it on my little simmer mat. And I'm going to put the cover on it. I ain't leaving this kitchen because I ain't fixing to burn my big money meal. So there we go. So I'm going to get my meat tender. Then when I come back, I'm going to check it for being cooked and tender. I'm going to add my mushrooms. I will drain them. I'll use a little bit of that liquid from that because it's flavorful. And before I serve it, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cooking sherry and 8 ounces of sour cream. And you need to have your egg noodles ready then, because once you add that sour cream, don't bring that up to no boil. Don't do it. So, it's going to take a while, but I'll get my egg noodles to burling, and we're going to have some beef stroganoff. Living large up in here with the girl on a budget. Stepping out with tenderloin. I got my noodles in to boil, And let me just show you how thick this is, because remember, in this is going 2 tablespoons of cooking sherry and 8 ounces of sour cream. So don't think, oh, it's too thick. That 8 ounces of sour cream is really going to loosen this up. And I'll show you after I do it. But oh my God, is it good? Because as the cook, you must taste it, I think, frequently. That's how I roll. Because I don't add any spices. And the only thing in this is salt and pepper, because that tenderloin is so flavorful. But you should test it often, just because you can. Because you're the cook, and that's your prerogative. I'm just doing it thinking of those who are eating it. I'm just trying to help. So my noodles are noodling. And before you send me a private message again about my pot filler, oh, you can't use water. You can't do that. It's dangerous. I'm on a well, and I have a whole house RO system. My water rocks. You can't get no safer than that. So it's all good in my hood, and when I take these out and put them in the zinc, in the colander, I'm going to rinse them with water again. But it's RO water, so simmer down. It's okay. So it is boiling away. Now I'm going to turn it off. And my trusty assistant, the hubster, is going to stir in the sour cream, because you do not want this boiling anymore and putting in your dairy product. So here's your sour cream going in there. It's a little over 8 ounces, and we might have to add more, because like cheese and butter, is there too much sour cream? I think not. But you don't want this on the heat when you add it. Gotta stir. You can kind of fold it in there as opposed to stirring, picking up under it, laying it over it. There you go, Chuck. And that meat is so tender. No chewing is involved. So here is the plate of happy. And that's what it looks like after your sour cream. And the heat is off. You can tomorrow, and we will do this on purpose to have some leftovers. Use some of your leftover egg noodles and warm it up in a little pan. So, my suggestion is Captain Crab the hubster does not get between me, my plate, and my fork. Mouse toes out.